Okay. 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 Good. Okay. Okay, guys. So in the last class, we were discussing about the requirement illustration techniques, and we were actually following. We fell short of like what four kinds of requirement illustration techniques in the last class. One of them is document analysis, focus groups, observation, and prototyping, which we are going to cover it today in this session. And after we are done with the requirement illustration, then we are going to jump into the software design process. So let me just get a hang of it, the document analysis. So document analysis is something which, yeah, which you, when you look into this, when you see this, revive the documentation of existing system and help creating as is process document. You know something called as is process document is something which is being created by the user or by the client, and he don't want to make any necessary changes further before consulting you. Like once if you want to make any changes, he had to take the approval of yours. So it's more like taking the consent each and every time for making any kind of changes and any kind of changes in the review document which he gives you, be it like BRD or FRD. So just before doing that, you see here, as well as driving gap analysis for scope. It's an ideal world wherein even be reviewed the requirements that drove creation in the existing system, starting point for document current requirements. Nuggets of information are often buried in the existing document that help us ask questions as part of validating requirement completeness. So this whole document analysis, who is going to do? This is going to be done from the business point of view, from the manager perspective. He is going to do the document analysis, like he's going to take the whole document in the format of as is, and he's going to make all the necessary changes required. Just before consulting, he's not going to do any necessary changes, but he's going to take all the document. He's going to take the like like it's going to be like 2 to 3 pages of document if it's like 2 to 3 pages of functional requirements or 2 to 3 pages of business requirements. He's going to go into all of them, and then he's going to send in a user story of his own, wherein there will be some sort of prototypes, like sort of like features which you want to add, or like features which he want to add. And it is also going to be like sort of like a review of the user, be it like corresponding user or be it like a practitioner. He's going to have his own review. So it's going to be two-way system. Like user story is going to be a two-way system into which the document analysis is going to be done just before the start of the process. This is all just before the start of the process. So you're not going to do it once after you get into the project, or once after your project has been initiated and initialized. Okay. Next, coming to the focus group. Focus group is nothing but like there is something called as a group. Like the group is going to be invited for each and every aspect. And then for example, if they're going to call like 6 to 7 people, 6 to 7 persons, and ask them to sit together, and then each and everybody has got their own turn. Like each and everybody will be given like 10 to 15 minutes of time to explain about the product which he is using, or which he had been using since the last couple of months or so. For example, if a person is launching his own application and he has got his own mobile application, and if a person is launching his own application, he just want to take the review from how the performance of their application is going to be. So he's going to ask each and every person, like, ask how do you feel about this? Like you can just start giving your own, like, your own feedback, saying that this has got these kind of features which I don't like the battery is slow, like it's killing my battery. So sort of like it's getting stuck at each and every point. It's not taking the next window whenever I want, or something like that. You can keep on telling your own stories. You'll be given your own turn, like 10 to 15 minutes, and there is going to be a scribe. Scribe is somebody who's going to jot down the notes. Scribe might or might not be the moderator, but scribe is somebody who is very much important when you're doing the requirement elicitation techniques. Okay, so the person is going to take all your feedback, be it like 5 to 6 guys. He's going to take all the feedback, and then he's going to end up like he's going to give it. He's going to make sort of like a good research, nice research, and he's got a good research document which he actually wanted to implement in his further update, like whenever he want to make new changes in his mobile application, and then for the next time, for the next session or for the next feature, usually they will launch new applications, right? The coming applications, they wanted to add in new features and they want to launch a new one. Then they're going to take all the information from you, and then they will they will only use it for the research purposes. So that is called as focus groups. Like they might even call you into a room, or like there will be a nice something called as cabin. They will ask you guys to sit together and like take kind of like opinions. These focus group might be ranging from 1 to 100. It all depends on them. Like the bunch of data which they want, like the quality of data, like like a bunch of 7 people might give good opinions, might have good opinions on your product. Like 7 guys might not have good opinions on your product. So each and every point it varies, right. So the sample size, when it's like small, it's not going to matter a lot. But if the sample size increases, keep on increasing, then that is when it's going to matter, right. So what the focus group does is like I mean, when you do when you are focusing on the groups, you're only focused on the data, right. Okay. So document analysis is pretty much more focusing on documents, and focus group is more focusing on a particular groups, and they want the quality of information at the end of the day. Okay. Okay, just hang on, guys. So I think yeah. So when we are working on focus groups, we are only focusing on the groups just to get the data which we want to use further for the further research purposes, right? So next jumping on to the observation. You see here, see, observants and analysts can identify process flow steps, pain points, and opportunities for improvement. Observations can be passive or active. Like they can be proactive, or they can be something called as obsolete. Obsolete is something which you make the changes right away, quickly, and then you actually wanted to get the you actually wanted the functionality of your system to be working immediately. Like you actually wanted your system, the changes which you made, they should be reflected right quickly and then and there itself. That's what obsolete is. Obsolete systems are completely different from what you call the proactive systems. Proactive might or might not take the time, but obsolete, you actually want the changes to be done then and there itself. You see here, observations can be passive or active. Passive observation is better for getting feedback on a prototype, whereas active is more effective getting an understanding of existing. Active is not going to be, first he want to understand the existing business process, and then he's going to take an action. That is called as active observation. Active can be long term, because you actually wanted to study how the product is going to affect your business, right? The product, how you want to study how your product is going to affect the market or like current trends and stuff like that. So passive, you see, passive observation is like getting feedback on a prototype, like to refine requirements. You see, you directly ask in the person, and you get the information, like be it like an end user or client. You ask him like, what do you really want? He says something, and you, based on those conclusions, you take the data, and then you try to try to do the observations, right? And you feel like, if the data is relevant to you, and then you want to proceed further, you can go further. Observations is very much important when you feel like you are not able to make the requirement illustration. You're not able to come to a final conclusion on what the user wants, or you're not able to make go through all these steps. Like if you're unable to design a requirement illustration technique pattern, like focus groups, focus group prototyping, interviewing, as well as questionnaire and stuff like that, or surveying as well for that matter, then observation is going to make critical role for you. Then because it is all based on your assumptions and your conclusions, right? So a business analyst is always asked to be a good observationist, because he have to make the final conclusions based on how the end user is, and like how he's and what he's looking for, like what kind of financial gains he want, like what kind of new features he want to add into his product. So That is what observation is about, focus groups, document analysis, and prototyping. This prototyping related to requirement illustration is completely different to prototyping, which is being explained about the model before. This prototyping, see, blindly just think when somebody says, yeah, we as an organization, we are conducting a prototyping model of the requirement illustration techniques, then you just have to think that he is going to give a sample of his data. See, prototyping is something he's going to see, if he has got his own project per se, and he's not going to give you the whole thing. He's just going to show you a sample and then run it in front of you and try to execute it to you. Because if he's feeling that the requirements which you are giving, or like the inputs which you are giving, or whatever the thing you want is not being reachable properly to you when you are being the when you are being the manager, if it is not being properly reachable to you, then you want to employ this prototyping method just to make sure that the data which you get or data which you send to the end user is being relevant. So prototyping is something you actually show. I mean, you actually show some part of your whole project to the client and try to execute it so that the client feels that yeah, this is what I was trying to this is what I was looking for. If you want to make any further changes, then he's going to let you know then and there itself. But you're not going to show the whole project to him. So it's only going to be like something called as prototyping is something which you you see, and you can't do anything like with just the prototyping. You can't keep on working on your project. This is only going to affect his strategic decision making or just the decision making for that matter. So prototyping is entirely based on prototyping. When you use prototyping, this is only completely related to strategic decision making. The client is going to be proactive then and there itself, and he's going to commit to your project. If you feel like the client wanted to commit to the project and he want to deposit some amount, and you feel like this is coming to the clutch, then you are going to use this prototyping. And because this takes it's going to be expensive, because you have to bring in all your systems. You have to be making sure that you are releasing some chunk of your data, and then not complete but little abstract of it. So that is when you use the prototyping. So yeah, with this I actually because each and everything, these are all dependent on your assumptions. If you feel this is document analysis enough for you to get your work done or to convince the customer, you feel you go for document focus groups. Some person might be comfortable going through focus groups. Some person might be comfortable going through prototyping. Some person through observations. Some person through interviewing. Some person through something called as questionnaires. So it's the end of the day, it's all in your hands to employ which kind of method you want to go for the requirement illustrations. Okay, so this is all about requirement illustration, guys. And next, coming to the new topic, this is entirely different. This is after what you do the requirement illustration. The next step comes in to the picture, which is called a software design process. So what is software design? It's a process to transform the user requirements. So you are transforming the user requirements into some suitable form. So you are giving a shape to what he wants. So what is an algorithm? You are giving a shape to what you wanted to do. Just before writing any code, you create an algorithm. So that algorithm reflects the skeleton of what you want to do. Without writing an algorithm, you don't want to go into any program. Algorithm is completely very much important for you guys, right? So you want to create some suitable form which helps the programmer in software coding and implementation. So during the software design phase, the design document is produced. Software design phase, the design document, there is something called as design document which is produced, and based on the customer requirement as document in the SRS document. So in the SRS, after writing the SRS, there is something called as design document. So you follow the steps in the design document just to create the outline of just to make the design of what it should look like. So hence the aim on this phase is to transform the SRS document into design document. So this step transforms the SRS into design. SRS is just the requirements. SRS is only focusing on requirements. The requirement has to be molded into the design. That is where the design concepts come into the picture. Okay. So this is the diagram for the design concepts. So what are all these design concepts? Abstraction, refactoring, information hiding, pattern, refinement, architecture, modularity. So I want to dig deeper into each and everything. So whenever I say software design concepts, it is revolving around all these things: the abstraction, the refactoring, information hiding, pattern, refinement, architecture, and modularity, right? So I want to throw some light on each and everything. So first, let me pick the abstraction, right? So when I say abstraction is something which I feel like you guys have actually gone through. Even if you're not, I'm actually trying to tell you something about abstraction. Abstraction is something you see here, you hide the relevant data. Why you do it? Abstraction means to hide the details, to reduce complexity and increase efficiency and quality. So why do you want to do it? See, you have created a code and there is chunks and chunks of data and there is loads of data in it. And when you want to make some changes, or like when you want to, if something happens for the system, for that matter, and when you want to make some quick changes in it, so what do you want to do? You actually wanted to go to each and everything. See, if you actually do this, the abstraction, the data which you actually wanted to go through or refer to will actually be minimized, right? So if you feel like some information is unnecessary, you actually want to hide the data, just for your good, not for the good of the client. It's only this abstraction solely meant for your advantage, right? You see here, different levels of abstraction are necessary and must be applied at each stage. So this level of abstraction must be applied at each stage. So in each stage, if you feel like there is overburden of data, there is overloading of data, then you will go for abstraction at each stage, so that error that is present can be removed to increase the efficiency of the software solution. Error that is present can be removed to improve the efficiency. Because if you feel like there is an error, if you feel like there is some sort of a bug, then you try to remove it immediately. And for each and everything, you want to refer the whole thing, right? So you can just like sort of like skim on each and every page, and then if you feel like you can make the necessary changes, you can just do it. And for that purpose, this abstraction is used, because this is only pertaining to designing a software, not coding. Coding is completely different. Once again, I'm saying, my friends, coding is completely different. Abstraction of design is completely different. Design, you're only focused on some relevant information, but not the complete information. Okay? So when the error has to be removed, the solution should be described in broad ways that cover a wide range of different things. Higher level abstraction, more detailed description of solution. You see here, more detailed description of software and solution should be given at the lower level of abstraction. So for each and every stage, there is a level. So for the lower level, you have to give more detailed description. Because as you go dig deeper, you have to give more details. In higher level, no, you don't want to give more, because everything is been seen like for say, if it's like a menu, then you actually, if you click on something, it's going to take you into the next window and next window, and that's how you actually go to the levels, right? One level, next level, next level, next level, and that way you actually wanted to give more description. And then comes the modularity. What is a modularity? Modularity is subdividing the system. Modularity means dividing the system into project into smaller parts, or reduce the complexity system. So why are they doing it? So why do they want to divide the whole system, the whole design to be broken into parts? Because they actually wanted to make it easier, right? And if they want to call some functions of this part, and they actually wanted to use these functions they actually wanted to call these functions and use into some other module, they can make it easy. So if there is huge chunk of data, and if they actually wanted to make some like call some functions in it, it actually gets little difficult, like or it's going to be little complicated, because what it says, you see here, modularity in design means to subdivide a system into smaller parts so that these parts can be created independently. You see here, these parts can be created independently, and even while creating, they actually wanted to divide the work into chunks of data, And like each and every module can be created separately by different teams. They can even assign this part to somebody, this part to B, Mr. C, and then they can have their own set of divisions. So it is necessary to divide the software into components known as modules, because nowadays there are different software available, like monolithic software, which I was trying to say. Monolithic software is something, it's actually hard to make changes in monolithic, because it's going to be like a huge, like a big chunk of big like a bulky software, wherein you say here it's hard to grasp for software engineers. So modularity is designed these days. This is the current trend. The modularity is the current trend, because everything is in little pieces, bits and pieces. Go through them, and then you can get some sort of solution, or it makes it easier for you. Next, architecture. What is an architecture? What does an architect do? Architect has got his own design. So you design a structure of something. An architect designs a structure of something, right? You call in an engineer, or you call in an architect. What does he do? He's going to look at the whole property, and he's going to give you the architect is going to give you the outline of how you want the building to be constructed in real terms. Similarly, when it comes to the software, in designing software that focus on various they are only focusing on various elements and the data of the structure. So the data which is supposed to be imbibed into the system is going to be the important factor. It doesn't matter how big the whole design is going to be. They're only focusing more on the elements and the data. Okay, so that is what is about the architecture. And then next comes the refinement. See, the refinement, what does refinement do? It removes impurities. Refinement simply means to refine something and to remove impurities if present. Excuse me. Yeah. The refinement concept of software is actually a process of developing or presenting a software in a detailed manner. That means to elaborate a system is very to find out an error. Even this refinement is going to be done to find out an error if present and to reduce it. Simply means to refine something to remove any impurities. If present, then increase the quality. So refinement, you see here, when you're designing something, you actually want to refer to the whole system in a detailed manner. So when you go dig deeper into the detail management, there is something called as perfection. So the difference between perfection and being excellent is when you dig deeper into something, and when you try to filter in the things which you necessarily want them, then there is something called as the perfect product to be. I mean, the product is going to be elegant, or like what you call the final product is going to be. Or like you can be saying that this product is going to be of state-of-art technology or something like that. So if you're not doing that, or if you're only focusing on the outside part, then it is actually a little difficult for you to remove the impurities. But if you're looking for perfection, then you definitely can do that and refine the whole system, whole design of the system. Next, coming to the pattern. Pattern simply means a repeated form or design in which the same shape is repeated several times to form a pattern. You see, the same shape is repeated several times. See, when you're designing something, and when you're getting some sort of an error, for example, if you're trying to construct something, like if you want to construct a website for that matter, in the whole process, if you're getting some sort of a bugs, and if you want to remove those bugs, you will actually employ some sort of method called as debugging, right? So this pattern, when it comes to designing, is also kind of like a debugging process, because so in each and every step you actually wanted to put in the brakes on the whole system and try to rectify where you're actually where the whole system is being where your focus is on, and you try to do the debugging. So you see here the pattern is a design means the repetition of solution to the common recurring problem. So if the problem is common, you feel like this problem is common. If you feel this problem is common, you actually employ the same method which you actually used before, right? So that's very much important because that's why they ask you to make design for the patterns, right? So you say that this pattern has been treated this way the last time. So like each and every pattern has got its own way of treating the things, right? Pattern, a repeated form. Next coming the information hiding. See, when I say information hiding, this is not same as that of abstraction, my friends. This abstraction, this is for doing good. And information hiding, you're hiding the information. Why do you want to do that? This is for security purposes and quality purposes. And you don't want to show your whole thing, what you're doing, to the unwanted party, right? You only want to reflect something which you want to show them. You don't want to show what your part is, like what you actually wanted to, or sort of like prototyping. You actually wanted to show them, give them sort of like a prototype, and you want to hide the rest of the things. But you want to make sure that the information which you provide is being clear. You see here, this information, don't get confused to abstraction as well as information hiding. That abstraction is different and this information in hiding is different, right? Information hiding simply means to hide so that it can be accessed by an unwanted party, okay? In software design, information hiding is achieved by designing the modules in mass so that information gathered or contained in one module is hidden and it can be accessed by any other modules, right? So you see here, sometimes you call functions from one module and you try to access the functions from one module, and then you sort of like extract the features which you want by sort of like filtering. You actually take the whole what you say blending. There is something called as data blending. The data from one source is being blended upon the data from another source, and then the whole, like, one part and two parts make the whole bigger part. Like, so that's how when you hear the word data blending, it's all like it's all going to be like amalgamation of the whole information. Like you take so information from one source, take the info from second source, you mix them, and then you do the filtering as well. If you want to make some filtering, you can apply even the filtering onto it. So that's how the data blending is going to be. So you have so in this part, you cannot take the data, you cannot extract the data, or you cannot access the data from the other module. So you are actually sort of like constructing a wall between your module and the other module just by hiding the information, right? Even if you're trying to call, no, it says no. Sort of like roll back and commit when it comes to SQL, right? If you've gone through it, like you actually wanted to protect your own data, and you use something called a rollback and commit, so that it's only you who can weave your own stuff, and you don't want third person to weave your stuff, or you don't want second person to weave your stuff. So it's all between you and your own data. That's what the DBA, that's what database administrators does. Excuse me. They actually work on their own part. They're not concerned about others. Okay. And then comes refactoring, reconstruct something. You see here, refactoring means to construct something in such a way that it does not affect the behavior of other features. Refactoring is also something which is also a little bit same like what I've actually discussed before. You see here, you actually want to go for reconstructing. Why do you want to reconstruct? If you feel like what you have actually, you see, if two systems are being matched, like if there is a clash between two systems, if one system is affecting the performance of other system, then and there itself you actually wanted to go for reconstruction, because the whole thing, if you're not doing a reconstruction, it is actually affecting the performance of the whole system, right? So you don't want to do that. And then when you're doing the reconstruction, you go for refactoring. Refactoring software means to reconstruct the design to reduce the complexity and simplify without affecting the behavior of of its functions. You see here, excuse me. Fowler has defined refactoring as the process of changing a software system in a way that it won't affect the behavior of the design and improve the internal structure. So did you get it? So these are all the factors. So when it comes to the factors which influence the software design process is the second step. After you've actually gathered all the requirements, then you actually create the software design. So before creating, you actually wanted to analyze all these concepts: abstraction, refactoring, information hiding, pattern, refinement, architecture, and modularity. Excuse me. So yeah. So this is where I actually discussed about abstraction. Okay. So what I actually want you guys to do is, I don't want you guys to take any notes for now, but I actually want you guys to write a software, write this definition, what is a software design, as well as take this diagram. And this whole data I'm going to give you again, like I'm going to give you all this, or probably in the next class, I will let you know, I will give you all this information and ask you guys to write this whole data. But for now, what I want you guys to do is copy from here to, like, take the definition of software design as well as take this diagram. Okay. Okay, guys, take your yeah. Please start writing, and then let me know once you're done after this diagram. Okay. And does anybody got any doubt, guys? Hello.
No, sir.
Okay. So what I want you students to do is, like, just note this part and draw this diagram, and then you guys are good to live. So once you're done, let me know. I think it's clearly visible, right?
Yes, sir. Little bit
Zoom
increase.
it.
Yes, sir.
Good now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, guys, is everybody done? Is everybody done, guys? Hello? Am I audible? Hello, is everybody able to hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, are you guys done with it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So, okay, guys, that's all for today's session, and you guys can leave. See you tomorrow. See you all tomorrow.